Welcome to the fourth episode of Your Time in the Run, the Amazing Race 31 recaps from Reality TV Warriors. My name is Michael Harmstone, and joining me as always is the Canadian who loves being in a water fight with Vietnamese men, Logan Saunders.
Evening.
And the lady who knows how to build toys from her extensive experience as a mum, Michelle Denman.
Correct. Morning.
I'm sure you've watched that episode and went, oh no, he's going to use that quote for me, isn't he? He knows how much I hate people defining themselves as mums.
It's okay. I built so much Lego in the holidays. It's just crazy.
Is Lego Masters inspiring you then?
Oh my God, I love that show, but those people are insane.
Get me and my knowledge of Australian TV, despite the fact it's a British format.
Exactly. I thought, oh, maybe you're just saying that because of the British one and not knowing that we've just got one right now.
No, I know full well that you've got one now because it's hosted by Hamish Blake off of Andy.
Yes.
Who I love very dearly.
I have a question before we begin.
Go on then.
Do you guys think an all-female team is going to win this season?
I can't comment on that.
Oh, Michael, why did you even say that? Because that means yes.
Well, I can't comment on that.
Oh, far out, Michael. Seriously.
It could also mean no.
Yeah, it could also mean no, Michelle.
No, it can't, because I know very well that if someone asks you a question that you can't answer, you say that sentence. If it's true.
For all you know, the next two teams to go could be the two all-female teams, Michelle, and we could be sitting here in 2-3 weeks' time, you going, oh, finally, both of the mum teams have gone.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Jesus.
No one with any parental responsibilities.
So, given that I know the answer to this question, what have you guys been up to this week?
No, wait a minute. I want to know why Logan asked that question.
Yeah, why did you ask that question, Logan? Why?
Because they were the bottom three teams this week.
Yeah, good point.
All three of them. 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Right.
And
okay.
none of them have done well all season long.
No.
Do you need more reasons?
No, that's okay. I'm happy. I'm happy now.
The good news is Corinne and Eliza are going to come back via the return ticket and then win every leg from here on out.
Oh, wow. Is there an Extinction Hotel, is there?
Yeah. It's happened on other versions of Amazing Race, Michelle. I wouldn't joke about it.
This week, I haven't been doing a lot. It was Wellbeing Week at school, so I had to make up a playlist for kids to dance to. They like that.
And you chose some of your favourite songs, including Smack That Bitch Up, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Baby Got Back and things like that.
And the FCC song by Monty Python.
No, they loved Katy Perry and Justin Timberlake. Sweet things.
I hear the FCC wouldn't let Michelle be. They tried to shut her down on MTV. Feels so empty without me.
God, I love that song.
What have you been up to, Logan?
I am in Catalonia. I watched a football game with my ex-girlfriend a couple days ago. And now I am in a town that I tried to pronounce, but it came out horribly wrong.
Sitges.
Apparently, it's not pronounced Sitges. No, that's not the name of the town.
It is if you ask me, and that's all that matters.
Jeez.
Did you do anything last weekend?
Right. That.
Yeah, you're forgetting
Thank you.
the fact that, you spent Sunday with me, Logan.
I've been really sick the past 2 days. Like, I've already had to mute the microphone like 4 or 5 times whenever I've coughed or sneezed.
I blame Davey.
Oh, dear.
I may or may not have caught something in that red wine.
The fourth glass was off, was it?
I knew that glass was a bit too polished. So yeah, we went as press to the mole finale in Belgium.
And as I said on the radio this evening, because we're recording this on Friday, as I said on the radio this evening, it was one of the best days ever. It was so much fun.
I have never seen you that giddy before in my life.
I know. I couldn't help it. It was genuinely a magical day for me. And, I mean, you know as well as I do, I did send Jill an email just to say thank you so much for letting us do that, because if nothing else, it validates everything we've been doing for the past 5.5 years. And it just felt so special for us to be able to do it.
And we'll be back there again next year.
Oh, damn straight we will.
Very lucky.
as Jill said to me on the way out, as long as you keep doing the podcast, you'll keep getting invited. So I'm holding you to that, Mr. DaCosta. We'll be back next year.
I am sure he's listening to this podcast right now about an American show.
The awkward thing is that I did forget when we were discussing the podcast with everyone who was on the mole that they would then actually start listening. And I'm very glad we didn't do Davy's season, because he would have heard me repeatedly call him Homeless Fairplay or Hipster Dave
Almost
Grohl.
Dave Grohl?
Yeah.
Did I call him Dave Grohl to his face?
You didn't do it to his face. You did it to a lot of people, though. Believe me, I had to chaperone you for the evening.
Oh, I have full memory of what happened. That's nowhere near what I'm typically like. Yeah, I'm a lot worse.
You were very sensible, given we had to podcast at 2 a.m.
I didn't even get home till after 4 a.m. in the morning.
I didn't get to bed until 3:30, and I was shattered on Monday.
I had to check out by, what was it, like 9:30? Then my flight was until 9:30 at night, and I didn't get to my hostel in Barcelona till after 1:30ish in the morning. I was dead.
I was up at 9 on Monday and checking out of my hotel for about 10:30ish, and I was very, very tired. Very tired. Especially as I then had to go straight to editing the first podcast of 2 that I released for Belgian Mole this week in a Five Guys in the centre of Antwerp, and then on the train.
But it was worth it.
But it was worth every second. And now we get to discuss Amazing Race, which I'm a bit less enthusiastic about.
Oh,
Especially on
why?
a day like today.
I mean, this season is better than last season. And I don't know whether it's because I know the boot order and therefore it's less of an edge of the seat moment when you have Rachel and Alyssa versus Corinne and Eliza at the end, where I'm like, yeah, obviously I know Corinne and Eliza are going. I don't know whether it's that or whether it's just kind of a little bit passive at the moment.
I think that part of it is because you know the boot order.
Yeah, I think it is as well. But also I've known bits of the boot order in the past. Stuff like Brooke and Scott winning, I knew that from like week 4, which, just for the record, because I know Brooke listens, did not impact on my adoration of you and Scotty. You know I love you both.
You mean you didn't pull a Mertz Jaffer and just look up spoilers to see who wins and then suck up to that person so you get invited to the finale parties?
No, I don't like them because they won. I like them because they're iconic. And them winning is the perfect ending to their story.
No, the perfect ending is if Brooke gives birth to twins.
No, the perfect ending is if she comes back with Blair and then wins again. Yeah, I think this was a good episode. I don't think it was a great one.
Especially when they don't air a full task that has a direct impact on who got eliminated.
Yeah, that's something we may have to discuss. Try and preempt Justin a little bit.
Yeah, may have to discuss.
So, previously, 9 teams travelled to Vietnam. A Big Brother alliance was formed at the airport, while Leo and Jamal and Corinne and Eliza struggled with their respective detours. Becca and Floyd ran an almost perfect leg in a leg that was basically designed for them, and checked in first, while Chris and Brett's age caught up with them, but it was the first non-elimination leg of the season. And we begin, as with every Vietnam episode that we seem to be covering at the moment, with a downpour in Ho Chi Minh City.
With motorcycles.
With motorcycles, yeah. Because yet another link between this and Belgian Mole is that there was a pretty big cyclone in Ho Chi Minh City when Belgian Mole was filming there, to the point where they actually had to basically cancel a day of the filming because of it. And teams must now travel to Snowtown, Saigon, where they will find the next clue. And it's Becca and Floyd leaving in first at 2:47 a.m, Nicole and Victor at 3:36, Colin and Christie at 3:46, Tyler and Corey at 4:06, Corinne and Eliza at 4:19, Janelle and Britney at 4:55, Rachel and Alyssa at 5:02, and then Leo and Jamal and Chris and Brett we don't find out any departure times for at all.
Even though they're the first and last are always the most important.
I wonder why they put up some and not others.
Because they don't like me knowing things.
It's a bit annoying. Either put them all up or don't put them all up.
It's more reason to listen to all the contestants' podcasts scattered all over the internet.
Yes, the first of many questionable editing decisions in this episode.
All we know is the departure time was before 6:30.
Yeah, and that they were close enough from the flower market to Snowtown, Saigon to get there before 6:30.
I don't think that place opens at 6:30. What do you think? I think that was a sign made for them. Why would a place like that open at 6:30 a.m.?
There was actually a topic that Logan wanted to discuss on this, because someone was moaning on Amazing Race fans, as they always do.
Oh my gosh, yes.
But this was actually an interesting one. It's like the few to actually pay attention to.
About how unfair it is that some teams depart and then there's an hours of operation. And I'm going to break a massive secret here for you, but it's deliberate. Because they don't do 12 or 36-hour pit stops anymore. They stagger it so that all the teams can catch up if they're staying in the same city. Spoilers. Unless there is an 18-hour gap, which is pretty much impossible on Amazing Race anymore, they deliberately time it so that one team will be departing and have to wait like 4 hours for the next place to open, at which point everyone can catch up and everyone gets a fair chance.
Yeah, you know that the advantages are completely gone now because this was a leg within the exact same city, so they didn't have to really be in transit anywhere, and they still made everyone bunch up. In past seasons, it's usually the only leg where how you finish on the previous leg has any impact. Now they've even taken that away on this one.
The thing I will say is that it makes a lot of sense for them to do it.
Of course it does.
And the reason I say that is not even from a production standpoint, but it means that they're not penalising any of the other teams when, spoilers, at the end of the leg there is a double battle. Because if you remember, the major problem with the intersection is that teams had to wait hours and hours and hours for the next team to arrive. They want to minimise that in the event of a double battle and try getting it down to like half an hour.
Yeah, but it's not just that. It's good that the teams that may be very good, Leo and Jamal, have a shocker of a day.
Leo and Jamal are not very good on this season anymore.
Well, they have a chance the next episode to redeem themselves. I suppose in the old days, there was such a huge gap and you just knew, they're obviously out next leg because they can't possibly catch up. Whereas this gives them a bit more competition, I suppose.
Not to mention this speed bump made teams go directly to the roadblock location.
And also the other element of that is the fact there is a pretty long flight coming after this leg. So they do need to make sure that they're reasonably close together. So, Nicole and Victor say that they want to survive a U-turn to become a proper Amazing Race team, foreshadowing. And Colin and Christie say they want to stay in the background and not win a leg, and they're just happy being the mom and dad team and dealing with all these millennials with their thousands of Instagram followers.
Who would have guessed that type of confessional would come out of Colin and Christie's mouths? We're just going to be calm. We're going to be calm. We're going to be mom and dad and just be very under the radar. We're not as intense as the other teams.
They're trying not to be threatening, and that is the way to win Amazing Race. Because if you suspect there are going to be U-turns galore coming soon, especially in a season like this where there's a lot of competitive teams, and also Chris and Brett, and Rupert and Laura, you need to be a bit considerate about trying not to be as big a threat as possible. It's certainly not the worst thing in the world for Leo and Jamal to have had a shocker in Vietnam.
Yeah, that target's been erased, these two legs.
Given that they went into Vietnam with an average of 1.0, and they're leaving Vietnam with an average of about 4.
That's almost all-female team territory. Almost.
They're not that bad.
Yeah, they're not as bad as moms.
In fact, their average has dropped from 1.0 to 4.0 in the last 2 legs. They are now the 3rd best average of the season so far.
Geez, I wonder who's number 1 then.
Number 1 is the same team who've been number 1 ever since Leo and Jamal weren't. The most consistent team of the season, and my favourites.
Colin and Christie, it's amazing that people thought, well, Christie's going to have to do roadblocks now, and then you find out she's probably the strongest female racer in the entire cast.
Yeah, and the even better thing is, I can't remember whether I said this to you guys last night, but I found out that Colin and Christie, if the season ended now, would have the 3rd best all-star average, running average, of 51 teams who've come back. They would have. They're currently 3rd.
You know what makes me think is back to season 5, if they had the roadblock rule then, Colin and Christie probably win the season. I can't see Kim doing that well at any of the roadblocks.
No, Christie is incredibly strong. And this is... I mean, we'll get to this in our eventual end-of-season podcast, but I think bringing back Colin and Christie is a great idea because it then opens up teams who were very old-school racers to come back and prove that the roadblock rule isn't a hindrance to them.
Yeah, like Flo's going to hit them all out of the park.
Flo coming back would be iconic, but...
Oh, she's not coming back.
I know she isn't, because she's a mum.
Michael.
No, that is actually her excuse. She has turned it down before.
God.
But there are so many teams who, especially sort of season 5, it has a reputation of, yeah, it's a great season, but none of those teams would have done very well if the roadblock rule was in place. And I would like to see more old school teams come back if they're ever going to do an All-Stars again. I'd like to see more old school teams come back and prove how good they are, even without the roadblock rule. And I think Colin and Christie doing so well so far is a testament to that.
Mm.
Without saying how they do, obviously. I have to be so careful in these podcasts to not say how any team does.
Yeah, thanks for reminding us of that.
Yeah, because, I'm not at all trying to block what you say sometimes because I don't know whether you're inadvertently giving us stuff.
I haven't said anything that is spoilerish in 4 episodes, and I'm very proud of myself for that.
That's good.
Because I'm deliberately wording things.
What? Rupert and Laura go home soon?
Yeah, I mean, for the preview I had to think back to how I felt when we found out who the cast was. And I'm like, if Rupert and Laura aren't first to go home, something has gone really wrong for one of the teams.
Which was exactly what happened.
And then I found out that Art and JJ were first boots, and I'm like, really? How did that happen, given they had the best average coming into the season?
And then you find out Art didn't do anything physically to prepare.
But yeah, I feel like there is a conversation to be had following this season, at least so far, that Colin and Christie, a third of the season in, being by far and away the best team on average, means that we should be seeing some more old school teams who maybe suffered from the reputation of, they were in an era where there was no roadblock rule, they wouldn't have done as well without that.
Yeah, I think you can erase that with Colin and Christie. They would definitely... Chip and Kim probably fall middle of the pack, and Colin and Christie wouldn't even be close. I can't even see Nicole doing well at any of the roadblocks either.
I feel like Colin and Christie probably would have won with the roadblock rule being in place. And it wouldn't have been close.
Yeah, Linda and Karen don't get to move up at all.
It would be an interesting conversation topic to have a look at Season 5 and go, how much of an effect would this have had? Because Season 5 is the one that gets the worst rep for, all of these teams did a 10-1 split or an 11-1 split on the roadblocks.
Crazy.
Or if you're Tian and Jury, a 5-0 split.
And Corinne and Eliza leave by saying they want to survive past a Big Brother team. And how is an Amazing Race and a Survivor team left and no Big Brother teams yet? About that.
Yeah. That does.
I don't know what to say about that.
They don't live up to what they thought they were going to be able to do.
This episode is a really bad one for Corinne and Eliza.
Oh, they get buried.
Yeah, I know we always caveat it by saying, you can't have a negative leg without actually saying these things. They didn't twist some stuff that Corinne and Eliza said, obviously because they said everything. But I think that they were deliberately trying to bury Corinne and Eliza for whatever reason.
But they said those things.
I know.
And they put it in the edit, and so they should if they're being totally crap like that.
I think it would have been a lot nicer if we'd seen the double battle and actually understood why that ending happened the way it did.
I think they would have said those things regardless, and it really, really doesn't matter.
I think they would as well, but also you have to think that something was a catalyst to that, and we didn't see anything that was really the catalyst. The biggest catalyst we saw was the taxi stealing. I think even the most casual of casual viewers doesn't go, that's understandable from the taxi stealing. There's got to have been something that happened at the double battle where they're devastated because of it, and it just doesn't marry up with the episode.
But you're allowed to be devastated about something without doing what they did. You're allowed to be, but it depends what kind of a person you are. Look, I'm not putting them down, but they did not have good sportsmanship at the end, and that's what kind of person you are.
All I'm saying is there's got to be a reason for the poor sportsmanship at the end.
Which
Sorry,
would be a direct...
no, Michael. If I lose something, which I hate losing, but if I lose anything, I'm not going to react like that. No matter how someone has beaten me, I would not act like that. So it doesn't matter about a reason at all.
What if me and Michael are playing badminton against you, and we win like 20-0 in the first set of badminton after each point? We're super happy. We're encouraging each other, and also trying to encourage you while we're up like 18-0.
No, you two
or
would not be
badminton.
encouraging me. You two would not be encouraging me. You'd be bagging me out.
Encouraging you, we wouldn't be encouraging each other.
What if we were? What if we were, though? Because that's what Rachel and Alyssa would probably play badminton like.
I was very lucky that Logan wasn't doing more Instagram lives on Mole finale night, because I was chatting some shit about him to his face.
There'd be no encouragement, ever.
So, at Snowtown, or Icetown as I'm now going to call it, because Ben Wyatt was in the polar bear outfit. Kudos to Lil Sebastian, who I'm currently looking at. Becker and Floyd find out that it's an hours of operation at 6:30am, and then when everyone catches up and gets to go in, Chris runs up an escalator the wrong way, and they need to slide down the hill to get their next clue from a polar bear.
Have you run up an escalator the wrong way?
I have, and I usually get in trouble for doing it. But I am the sort of rebellious child who will do it just for funsies.
He did it very badly.
Yeah, he did, because he stacked it.
Jeez, that would have hurt on the metal as well.
And then at the top, Britney shoves Elitha to get a sledge and then takes the polar bear out on her way down.
I love that.
I think we finally had the breakout of Janelle and Britney this episode. They were one of my favourite teams this episode, mainly for Britney, because Britney was just making stupid faces as Janelle was doing things this episode.
Like all the work that Britney did in the boat?
Yeah, exactly. Like being, how did she describe herself? A nice little counterweight in the boat.
She's like a paperweight.
Like taking the polar bear out. Her reaction to Janelle getting the roadblock of being basically a human blur as she taunted the camera. Like, that's the old Britney from Big Brother 12 that I wanted to see when they came into this season.
Maybe she was like a child. You know how like a child will try to use their momentum just using like their head or their shoulders to get forward or backwards in a boat? Maybe she was doing the same thing and it actually worked. Maybe Janelle's not as strong as she thinks.
And then teams must find the College Transportation Central, very familiar to fans of Belgian Mole, to find their next clue.
Is it the exact same one?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it is. Unless you're Chris and Brett, of course, who find their speed bump sign and they have to fill a cooler full of snowballs and then take it to the College Transportation Central anyway.
Is Ho Chi... I've heard there's so many more expats in Ho Chi Minh City now, and it's not really that cheap of a place to live anymore in contrast to the rest of Vietnam. It's like Ho Chi Minh's trying to catch up to Dubai as like slightly cheaper version of Dubai.
It is, but also Ho Chi Minh City is very cheap anyway, just because of the currency.
Yeah. Nothing cheaper than dong.
And Corinne and Eliza try and steal Rachel and Alytha's cab, and Corinne wants to block them on all social media when she gets home.
Okay.
And then once teams get to the College Transportation Central, it's a roadblock, which is who feels like driving themselves crazy. And in this roadblock, one team member must take upon the mantle of Axel and Bruno and complete a course on a moped to get their next clue. Also, they get an express pass if they do carry water bottles, chairs, a boat, or a gong on their mopeds.
I hear it's an automatic U-turn. An automatic U-turn if they bring the boat on there, though.
Yeah, it is. You're right.
I hear there's a timer.
Do you think, like I do, that this would have been a great roadblock to use the Extreme Roadblock pass on, if you had it?
Considering the most attempts was 10, and I don't think it took that long to do 10 attempts on it.
I feel like it's an incredibly frustrating roadblock and one to really trick people with.
I guess by Amazing Race standards, I guess it might be a wise one.
But they spend more time having problems with dancing tasks generally.
Yeah, what roadblocks have we seen so far, though? because we've seen the sandal one, the going up the inflatable slide that definitely wasn't a replacement task at all.
I think Art wouldn't have used it on the moped task. I think he would have liked it.
We've had the elephant task, which I guess in terms of a time penalty, if you're going to annoy another team, especially if they've been U-turned, is quite a good one to use as well.
Oh yeah, the elephant one would take so much longer than Eliza on the moped.
Yeah, last week we had the karaoke, which I think was more enthusiasm than anything, especially if you end up singing Charles and Eddie, Would I Lie to You? And now you have this one. I think of those 5, you either pick the elephant or this one to use it on.
So for karaoke, pretty much Eric and Daniel would be the ones using it?
Oh, I wish they would have brought the Belgian mole version of karaoke to this season. Survive this half-hour long massage while trying to sing karaoke songs to get your next clue.
If Eliza wasn't crying before, she'd be crying now.
Even though, obviously, we have a huge soft spot for Axel, and that he is a genuinely lovely human being, as we found out on Sunday, God, that task was funny.
It was funny.
Logan told me not to speak during the episode, and I, of course, ignored it. And as soon as Gilles said, 2 of you need to do karaoke, 1 of you needs to do a massage, I turned to Logan and went, that massage is going to have a twist.
Yep.
Like, how do you go into that task without going, yeah, they're going to make me do something other than a massage here. You can just tell.
Not only did it have a twist, it also had a few knots.
It also had a Vietnamese lady riding him.
That's normal.
Yeah, right and dirty like Chameleonaire.
So it is Jamal, Elitha, Victor, Eliza, Chris, Becca, Colin, Janelle, and Corey doing this roadblock. And Elitha boasts that she has major balance and then immediately fails. And by attempt number 5, she just completely drives across the figure 8. She doesn't even try anymore.
I don't know how I'd be at that, because it's so heavy. Well, they're not as heavy as a motorbike, but they're quite heavy, and you've got to go a certain speed. I think I'd have difficulties.
Alytha's a great source of unintentional comedy so far.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of her on Big Brother, mainly because I'm not a big fan of most people on Big Brother. But she is a very good source of unintentional comedy.
Everything she says has not been able to live up to her word. The confidence is great, just the execution is a bit lacking.
And the problem with us in this task is the fact that there's really not a lot to say unless people stack it. So, yeah, Jamal leaves first, and teams must now find Bin Kwai Village to find their next clue. And Elitha leaves in second, with Victor in third. And Eliza is terrified.
Yeah. That thing falling over on your leg wouldn't be great.
It wouldn't be great, but it would have been worse had you been stacked with water bottles, chickens. What else did we have? What else was there?
Television. Did we have a television
There
on?
was a television on there, which Axel refused to do.
I think you should talk about this and say this was on the mole and this is what people had to carry on the back of their mopeds.
Yeah, so the mole version of this task was taking them to that place for money. They had to get through that course with stuff stacked on their bikes. So it was like chickens, water bottles, chairs, TV,
Jackson.
a boat, vases.
Ticket to the 1910 State Fair.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it was just basically, Vietnam is full of people stacking stuff on their bikes. Why don't you do that?
It's funny.
But do you think if Henry and Bernie from Amazing Race Asia 3 had to do this task, that they would just have complete trauma and night terrors and wouldn't be able to do this roadblock?
I think I would suck at this roadblock.
I would too, because I don't have a driver's license and I've never learned how to ride a bicycle.
God.
So this is like nightmare-inducing for you. I would have had to do this had we been on this season.
Yeah.
Wow.
I still
You'd
think
actually
I would have
be
done better
worse
than
than
Eliza,
me.
though. I would have done better than Eliza, because Eliza lives in New York and works in an office all day. Her and Corinne are major city slickers. I'm not surprised that tasks in Vietnam were not exactly up their alley today, while Chris and Brett, who have done terrible all season, get to make up all of this time because they get a moped task and steering another form of transportation, aka a boat.
And Colin and Christie have a dirt bike for their 11-year-old, so Colin got one too, and he leaves in one attempt.
I'm just picturing Christmas morning in the household where they don't see the name tag of like who the gift is for yet. So like Colin and his son go downstairs to the Christmas tree for Christmas morning. There's like a dirt bike all wrapped up, and they both are equally excited over it. And it's like, to Colin's son. It's not for you, Colin.
To
and then Colin throws a hissy fit. Yeah.
Or Achilles. I can't remember which is the older one. I think it's Achilles who's the older one. It's Achilles and Cruz are their two sons.
Yeah. So it's like, to Cruz, here's your dirt bike. And then Colin's like, damn it, this is bullshit. And then he just and then on Boxing Day, the next day, like they don't even have that in the States, so he's like driving all the way up to Canada, and just out of spite, he buys himself a dirt bike too, so him and his son can now ride together, just because he was so disappointed he didn't get one himself.
So once teams get to the village, it's a detour, which is irritation or irrigation. And in irritation, teams must switch back to the Amazing Race 3 basket boats detour and paddle 200 yards down the river, collecting a basket of fish, and carry their boat over bridges, whilst returning with both the fish and the basket to get their next clue.
And somehow they made it even tougher.
Yeah. And in irrigation, teams must build a water wheel correctly to get their next clue. Straight up, which one would you have picked?
Irritation.
So
building things is hard. There's such tiny things you can get wrong, and I just wouldn't want to waste my time.
2 words sum up why you wouldn't go anywhere near irrigation. Exacting standards. You want to do something you're going to be judged on, but you want to do something where there's a bit of leeway. That sort of a task has 0 leeway.
Mm.
At least it's in your own control if you do irritation.
Exactly.
Which one would you have picked, Logan?
So I would do the basket boats.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement on that. You do basket boats.
I think I would get way too frustrated if I kept getting the aqueduct challenge wrong.
And then say it's bullshit.
And I don't have, as we learned at the mole finale, apparently I don't have as good of an eye for detail with visuals as I thought I did.
Why? What happened?
I couldn't spot any visual designs. Like the signs and stuff, Mike will be like, "Oh, do you see that thing there?" And I'm like, "No, I don't." Yeah. Oh, wait, it's right there.
When we walked up to Kinepolis and you didn't spot the huge banner saying "Who's the mole? Find out tonight." For example.
Yeah, and find the mole logo or the mole logo inside as well.
I forgot about that. I was too distracted by the fact that we should not have been in that room.
Yeah, I kind of overtook. I'm like, not the biggest of our concerns right now. I'm waiting for like a Belgian Jean-Claude Van Damme security guard to take us out of there. Judo chop.
And Chris leaves in 5th with Becca in 6th. And then there's a delightfully awkward moment when Becca's taxi driver refuses to high-five her.
That's weird. It's very hard to high-five from the back seat to the front seat regardless.
To a driver.
And then Janelle is stacking it.
Yep. Who knew the Playboy model would be stacking it? I'm, for one, am shocked.
And then we get the iconic Colin Gwynn quote of, "We're going to check out irritation, because being irritated is super fun."
And then there's just a group of Armenian refugees waiting at the dock. It's going to be great next week when they have the detour called, and once they get to Armenia with the detour, Yerevan or Caravan.
And Rachel and Elitha choose irrigation because they have experience as mums of building things.
Yeah, because I remember my parents when I was 6 years old. What I wanted was an aqueduct wheel in the backyard.
It's not the same as building an IKEA bookshelf,
which also proved to be tough on The Amazing Race.
What season did they go there?
6.
IKEA. 6.
So the world's largest IKEA.
That was fun.
The pride of Sweden.
And Janelle leaves in 7th, and we get a wonderful moment of Britney's face as they leave, and she's just basically gloating.
Yep.
Shouldn't be gloating, as Gerard would say.
Did you also notice that Jamal's shoulder is strapped up?
Yes.
I've only been noticing the goatee, to be honest with you.
You didn't notice the shoulder. Oh my God. It wasn't on very well. It was all coming off.
Yeah, it's
Whatever
very
he was
visible at the
trying to do
detail.
there. Mm.
His shoulder was coming off?
Yeah, it was.
His shoulder was broken.
Wow, no wonder they haven't been finishing first lately. That's a setback. Were they just doing that as a ploy to make sure they didn't get U-turned the rest of the season?
And there is a wonderful moment at the irrigation detour when Rachel slips on the ground.
She slipped on grass.
And if there's anything we know about Rachel, she is a creepy magician, slow taxi driver, ox mechanic, tongue gun twister, truly choosy carpet chooser, bow tie tire, matador, stevedore, conquistador, miller, miner, milliner, doctor, proctor, concoctor, conductor, teacher, bleacher, preacher, impeacher, hatcher, matcher, thatcher, dispatcher, tout and mahout. And Bindles, I will say that is the closest you've ever got to me giggling, because I did read that on Sunday evening, as I actually mentioned on the Belgian Mole podcast. Read that on Sunday evening, and some of those did make me giggle, and I had to kind of focus.
Okay. There's one I want to call you on. Are you supposed to have said a tongue twister or a Tongan twister?
Tongue untwister.
Oh, okay. It sounded like a Tongan twister, and I'm thinking, hang on, people in Tonga twist.
They don't do the twist in Tonga, they do the time warp.
I'm surprised you didn't pull me up on truly choosy carpet chooser.
There was a bit of alliteration in there.
Yeah, but Bindle seems to have been inspired by the very first one of me just trying to make everything rhyme. I like those sort of ones.
If I recall correctly, a Tongan twister was a drink offered at the mole finale.
And Corey leaves the roadblock in 8th, and Eliza breaks down, but Corinne comforts her. And when Becca and Floyd start irritation, you can see one of the distracting guys pulling water from his boat. And Colin and Christie reach the turnaround point first, but they take the fish and not the basket, and they spot their mistake on the way back, but it is Nicole and Victor who overtake them at that point. And Eliza leaves the roadblock in last. And teams now head to Tamvu Park, the pit stop for this leg of the race, and run to Phil on the mat. The last team to check in may be eliminated.
Yep.
Did they actually run all the way to Phil on the mat from the detour?
I think this is the point where we need to start officially discussing the double battle, because from the terrible editing and the fact that it said run to Phil on the mat, and we heard that from multiple people, you can kind of guess that there was a double battle in this leg. It was in the park. They had to play badminton against each other because evidently the Amazing Race Canada producers have been onto this season already. And even though it was apparently cut because there was no placement changes, that is bullshit.
Yeah, but it takes away from the rest of the great content they get from other things. I mean, I can understand why the producers did it or the editors, because it didn't affect anything.
No, but it was so badly edited. Like, it was so jarring because you switch from Colin and Christie and Nicole and Victor working together and trying to have a foot race basically to the mat to Colin and Christie just appearing without their bags.
But you know what? Some people wouldn't even notice that.
I think most people would, because it's the most egregious bit of Amazing Race editing for a long while.
Yeah, it was, even knowing that going into the episode, I didn't know exactly when it was placed. I thought it was actually before the detour. I don't know when. But then, yeah, towards the end, I'm like, oh, it had to be after the detour because Colin and Christie just randomly appearing solo. And then Leo and Jamal's mat chat was so weird too. I presume Leo and Jamal must have lost a couple of spots at the head-to-head.
Becca and Floyd apparently played 3 matches.
Wow.
And we didn't see any of this. This is what I mean. There was no reference to it. They could have easily skipped through it because it was a double battle and it's going to be boring because it's badminton and it's not even good enough to be tennis. And this comes from someone who hates tennis. But they need to at least acknowledge it because of the placement changes.
It had a direct impact on the outcome of this leg.
Yeah, because Corinne and Eliza probably would have beaten the Riley sisters in a foot race. I would guess, without knowing anything for certain, that Corinne and Eliza probably got to the double battle first and lost and then had to face the Rileys. And that was where the frustration came from, because they could have saved themselves twice.
And they lost to the Riley sisters at every twist and turn this leg.
Yeah.
They just had to accept the fact that they were worse than all the Big Brother teams.
And Colin and Christie and Nicole and Victor decide to work together to get to the pit stop. Leo and Jamal leave Irrigation in third. And then Rachel and Alytha fight and freak out while Rachel wants to swap detours, breaking the Cardinal Michelle Pierce Denovan rule.
Mm-hmm.
And then Becca and Floyd leave Irritation in fourth with Chris and Brett in fifth. And then we just cut to the pit stop, so Colin and Christie check in first without their bags, and they win a trip to the Dominican Republic. And it obviously means a lot to them to finally win another leg after 15 years. And as part of their prize, they get massages.
I wish Rachel would have switched detours, because they would have just been able to beat Corinne and Eliza anyway at the head-to-head. So it would have made it that much funnier.
Double battle, Logan.
Yeah, well, not everyone's going to know what you mean, Michael. Not everyone watches all of the international versions.
And I will also say, from what I've heard about the setup for this, in terms of teams had to run to fill at the mat, get a clue to describe the double battle, and then head over to the double battle arena, if that is true about that setup, then it isn't the only one this season. Because Phil was seen in a later leg with clues in his back pocket, where it was not a keep on racing leg. And everyone was wondering why Phil had those in his back pocket. And it may make sense now.
Mm.
Do you think those will air?
I'm not sure, but I will say that it was in the final four leg, if my theory's correct. So they may be pulling an Amazing Race Canada and having their final three be determined by a double battle.
That's so hard.
Yeah.
That's so sad for the person out.
And the greeter is adorable and probably doesn't deserve to see the meltdown from Corinne and Eliza coming soon.
No, so cute. And Colin, oh my gosh, he's so happy. He's always happy now. He's smiling and hugging all the time.
Even if I didn't love Colin and Christie so much, which I obviously do, seeing them win a leg after 15 years is delightful. Seeing their reaction to winning a leg after 15 years is even better.
And knowing that the pit stop greeter wasn't even born yet when they won the last time they won a leg.
I bet that made them feel so old.
Could you imagine going up to the little kid if it was them in their current Buddhist state, and they go up to the little kid and be like, "We were winning legs of the race even before you were born." That's what old Colin would have done.
I had a really weird moment a few weeks ago when I was on the radio, because there was a professional Fortnite player who came in to be the guest. And the host was playing Black Eyed Peas' Where Is the Love? And we actually had a discussion after this Fortnite player had gone, whether he was born yet when that song came out.
That was 2002?
2003 it was. And he was 16.
Oh, he's right on the cusp.
There is a very real chance that I was sat next to a Fortnite player who was not born when the Black Eyed Peas' Where Is the Love came out. That made me feel super old.
And you were younger than me.
Yep. And when Nicole and Victor check in second, you can actually see Tyler and Corey in the background waiting for the next fight. Which is interesting.
Mm.
And then we just get loads of fun character scenes from the Basket Boats Challenge. I'm not even going to call it Irritation anymore, it's Basket Boats. So Janelle says, "Okay, we're now in a water fight with Vietnamese men."
They would love Thai New Year.
Songkran, is it?
Songkran, yes. Water guns for 4 days straight. You just spray everybody with water. Right in the face. Right in the face.
I was laughing when you'd put those posts up, Logan, and you said you couldn't even leave your hotel and you just had to get to the corner shop to get some sort of water gun so that you could
like they start
help
spraying
people.
you the second you leave a private residence. Oh, yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's only like a few steps. I only made a few steps. I'm like, oh, shit, it started earlier than I thought. They said it wasn't until tonight. And then I had to duck into the 7-Eleven right next door, bought 2 dry bags, or bought 1 dry bag, and just shoved everything I had in there. Then made it back to my hotel, then cleared out anything I didn't absolutely need. I think everything except my cell phone. Couldn't even take pictures for the next 2 days because I was too afraid of my phone getting too soaked. But it was worth it.
And Corey manages to cut himself on the fish baskets.
Bloody Fingers 101 Part 2.
Brittany describes herself as a nice little counterweight, before Tyler and Corey leave in 6th, with Janelle and Brittany in 7th. And then Chris and Brett checking in third, Becca and Floyd in fourth, and Tyler and Corey in fifth, and Leo and Jamal in sixth. And Corinne and Eliza sink at the basket boats challenge, before Rachel and Alyssa leave irrigation in eighth, with Corinne and Eliza leaving irritation in last. And when Rachel and Alyssa read the clue, they read the phrase, return to Phil on the mat, which means they were basically told it was a double battle, and they had to go to Phil, grab the clue, and then go to the double battle.
If I had to do an analogy for Britney's effort on the boat to another Big Brother season, it would be like if Dan was the one paddling and Memphis was the one sitting in the boat. That's pretty much what it was like.
Britney was one step short of doing a Kathy from her season and going, what do I do? And then in a alleged foot race to the mat, Rachel and Alyssa check in eighth. Rachel cries. Corinne and Eliza just kind of slink in. They check in last, and they're eliminated and angry about it.
Well, Eliza, I think, outcried Rachel this leg.
Yeah, if you didn't know that there was a double battle this leg, the fact that Corinne and Eliza don't even try and run into the mat, you kind of know that they just lost and knew they were going to get eliminated.
Not hashtag blessed.
No, this is what I don't like about the double battle being right at the pit stop, because it takes all the intrigue for the teams out, because they know full well that they're getting eliminated if they lose that last one.
They're like deflated balloons. It's like somebody just turned the power switch off and it's like, ooh.
So, do you want to eulogize Corinne and Eliza?
Corinne, she is a mid-30s educated woman, and the only thing we would give her is a handful of antidepressants, so when Eliza's crying on the race, it would look a little sincere.
That works.
I just came up with that now. I feel proud of myself. They serve their role. I was surprised at how extreme what Eliza was this season, but it pretty much fits in with what Eamon said when he hung out with her in Kota Kinabalu a few years ago. I assume this will probably be it for them on reality TV.
I think so.
Given that we have mutual friends with Eliza, it's kind of weird for us to talk about this, because obviously we know Brooke, she's friends with Brooke.
And Eamon.
Yeah, and Eamon, obviously. But she's on a pub quiz team with Brooke.
I also met Eliza when she came to Sydney.
Did you?
Oh, there was some sort of Australian Survivor premiere or something, and she came and she was very nice.
Yeah, I think they're both very competitive, and I think Amazing Race probably brought out the worst in both of them.
Which is what producers would want.
Yeah. I think it's a loss to the season for them to go this early, because I think they probably would have caused a lot of trouble, especially if they'd got towards the must-vote U-turn leg.
And if Rachel and Alyssa were still in the race, I think those meltdowns would have been a lot less concealed from them. It would have been a lot more direct.
Yeah, I think it was a bit of a loss to the season for them to go in 9th place. And I must admit, when I found out they went in 9th place, I was a bit shocked, because they're both very worldly people. On paper, if any team is going to succeed in Asian legs, it's probably going to be them.
And yet they were like the least physically fit all-female team in this season. Like, do you see the abdomen on Alyssa?
Yeah, I was very impressed by that, actually.
Yeah, I don't think even the male racers other than Victor even have that.
So, yeah, have you got anything you guys want to say before I do the next time bit?
There's nothing else.
No, I think it played out. I'm a bit surprised they did go out this early, but not after watching the first 3 episodes, and especially when 2 of the tasks involved having to be able to operate modes of transportation. That's something middle-aged men like Chris and Brett can do, but not them. So,
next time, teams head to Dubai, and there is DJing, Colin dancing, zip lines, dinosaurs, and Rachel and Alyssa crying again.
I feel like that's an implied preview with Rachel crying. I don't think you really need that to be in the preview. It's like, I just expect that. I'd be more surprised if the preview was, Rachel and Alyssa have a perfectly sane and normal day without any bumps in the road whatsoever. They have a pleasant and fun time.
Amazing Race is good and fun.
They skip off into the sunset with the Tin Man, the Cowardly Lion, the Scarecrow, and they head off to the Wizard of Oz.
They're just trying to make Amazing Races supposed to be fun. a thing now, aren't they?
Do you think they're just intentionally trying to cry every leg, like, oh, hey, is the camera on me? The Amazing Race is supposed to be good and fun. Did we get the take?
It feels a little attention-seeking, doing it every episode.
It's like at the very beginning when Christie made the joke of, oh, the sand is broken. Is everyone just doing all of their catchphrases?
Yeah, but that's funny. And also, we've not had that for 15 years.
I don't know. I think saying it over and over again is driving me a little crazy.
So, what do you guys think is going to happen next leg?
I mean, Chris and Brett have to go at some point, don't they?
We got it so wrong last time. So
I know you
wrong.
did. I must admit, when I was sat in that lovely lounge in Manchester Airport last Saturday morning, editing this podcast, or editing last week's podcast, I did find it slightly amusing that you guys were so wrong.
Were you? You're so amused. Oh my God.
I think we're having a Survivor extinction next round. Or moms are going home.
Do you want to make some more terrible predictions?
Chris and Brett done, so. They still were so under-edited.
God, I don't know. Rachel Nissen or Chris and Brett. Here we go. Here we go. Let's be wrong again.
Have you guys got anything else you want to say?
No, I am good.
I think the Colin and Christie rampage is about to begin. The Zen page.
I said this to you yesterday, Logan. They are still very much within a shout of getting the all-time leg record.
And I think they're going to do it. Because no one else is doing that well.
They really don't have to win that many more legs to get the leg record, I don't think. I think it's 2 more they've got to win to get it. Because I think 8 is the current personal best.
Who's that?
Dave and Rachel got it in 1 season, and Dave and Connor got it in 2, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Mark and Revealson.
Mark and Revealson, yeah. I'm pretty sure 8 is the current record for leg wins, so...
And Colin and Christie are at 7?
Yeah, they're on 7 at the moment, so they only need 2 more to get the actual record.
Yeah, I think they're going to get it.
And 3 more if they want to do it officially without the use of a fast forward.
How many did Justin and Diana get?
7.
Okay, God, you two are good.
They were devastated to have not equaled the best. That's how I
Of
remember.
the 8.
So, thank you for listening to this Amazing Race podcast. You can join us next week for another recap. If you got any questions, feel free to contact us on our Facebook page, Reality TV Warriors, on our Twitter account, RTV Warriors, our own Twitter pages, MJ Helmstone for me, Logs of Quacky for Logan, and Bear333 for Michelle. Also, if you're watching Belgian Mole, Logan and I will be rounding up our coverage of that next week. See you next week.
Bye.
Peace out and just chill to the next episode.
Yeah.